we find it very important to recognize communication in no matter what setting we are in is oftentimes the linchpin of growth or of struggle. How many know, in fact, when I do premarital stuff, I spend, of the 8 sessions, I spend probably the first 3.5 on communication, because vitally in a marriage and a relationship, communication virtually is everything. And so it is. I think this is going to be a great growth step for us in leadership as we lead. I think just the title itself lends great understanding, right? What sometimes we are saying or what people are hearing can be vastly different of the person who is saying it and the person who is receiving it. And I know that sometimes the challenge, the bad side of leadership is that we feel like, well, we're just the boss and it's everybody else's fault. And like, I said it, why didn't they get that, right? If I've heard that a million times between a husband and a wife over all these years, right? I said it, I don't understand how he missed it. How does he not understand? It's called being a man, right? And so much different being a woman. And so, again, a lot of these assumed roles and leadership communication spots that we take, we feel like, well, there's just this assumption. And the challenge to our leadership is that it isn't. And what we want you to feel more is that we want it to rest heavier on us. So again, if it's not working, our first step isn't to blame the team. It's first, and it's not really maybe blame in a sense, but we want to look, did we communicate this properly? Is our communication ongoing, building the team and developing the team? Are they not just getting my words, but are they getting the heart of what we're trying to communicate? So there is a lot in this. Pastor Matt and Lydia are going to take most of tonight, and then they're going to give us some work to do, and then the following Wednesday, there'll be a lot more explanation about what you and I have been doing in these books over that time frame. So take this really seriously. Some of you have been through some of the life group that Pastor Matt and Lydia did, so you're kind of a little bit aware of this, but this will be a great start. So guys, why don't you come on, give these guys a big hand. Thank you for the time that they have. So that mic is on.
Well, we are excited to be here with you because this is just a great blessing of information to be able to implement in your life. With what you're doing, with how you're leading people, with how you're serving people. This isn't just one of those personality tests. You know, how many have done one of those personality tests, whether, like, everyone's
15 of them.
Yeah, like the Enneagram and all that stuff, you know, Myers-Briggs, Taylor Johnson, DISC, there's, like, many more that are just out there. You can just, like, I don't know, do random ones on Google, too, if you wanted to. But anyway, this is not just one of those personality tests. It's not like, oh, what am I? What animal am I? Or what number am I? Or, you know, it's not that stuff. What's my spirit animal? It's not that.
No.
Okay?
We should make one of those, though.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do that, yeah. This is one of those things that will really help you understand who you are, how you're wired, your makeup, your DNA, how you say things, how you receive things, but it'll also help you with the relationships around you. If you're married, it'll help your marriage. If you're dating, it'll help your relationship with a person that you're close to. With a parent and a child, it'll help bridge a gap and give you better understanding. Like, I guarantee you at some point as you work through this material, it's going to smack you in the face and you're going to be like, it's all so clear. Or you're going to get spooked out of your mind. You're going to be looking over your shoulder and be like, who's reading my mail? Because this stuff is that good, and it really tells you like what you are, who you are, how you're wired. And so it's important to know with who you work with, who you live with, who you serve with, who you lead, on how to communicate properly with them. Because as Pastor Jim mentioned, communication is key as we lead people and as we really share the gospel ultimately with others. And so, you know, maybe you've been in one of those scenarios where you lead a ministry team or you're working with someone and you're like, I don't understand why these people don't get it. I asked them 18 times to pass the plate as they usher up and down the aisle. Why can't they pass the plate down the row? You know, and then so some of it comes down to communication, how you're saying it. That's just an example, by the way. That's not demeaning anyone, okay? How you're saying it, but also how they receive it. So it's important.
Good because it tunes you into like what empathy and compassion really is too. Because if you are wired to be task-oriented and there is a super bubbly person that rubs you the wrong way all the time, like this helps us understand their perspective a little bit more. Like not that, you know, you're never gonna have friction or tension with people, but it helps you understand where they're coming from because they may be more people-oriented rather than task-oriented. And we'll get into that. And that looks different as we also dissect what it means to be an introvert versus extrovert. You might think, I'm the life of the party all the time, I'm an extrovert. But actually, you potentially could be an introvert when it comes to communication, because maybe you funnel things really well through a filter versus a true yellow or red who just is a blurter outer. Or maybe you're married to a blurter outer, and that causes a lot of tension in the home because you're a peace lover, you're a peacemaker. So it's good. I mean, everything, to me, when we stumbled across this, last spring, like 2 months into lockdown, I hate my life, like that sort of thing. Everyone's in the same state of misery. But this was really refreshing because it helped me see some even professional things of like, why am I in a rut? Why am I joyless at the end of the week? What can I do different so that my strengths can be stronger and my weaknesses can be taken care of by maybe other people, or I can get people who are better at tasks than I am to do the tasky stuff. Let me do the people stuff. That's what I'm good at. And it helped me rewire some things even professionally. So this might be challenging for you in all domains. You might be surprised by it.
Yeah, and really this material, it stems around our words. And so the role of our words are huge. The core of this material is about how we use and how we receive words. Our words are powerful, and they can either be constructive or destructive. We can probably remember back in our history of life and growing up, and hopefully not even as recent as today, but there might have been opportunities or moments in your life where someone said something to you, and it just kind of stopped you in your tracks, and it just deflated you instantly. It took all the wind out of your sail and just, oh man, like just really wrecked your world. Or maybe there's an occurrence where someone really said something that just built you up, and they saw something in you that you never even saw in yourself, and they said some pretty powerful words that impacted your life and set you on a new trajectory for your life. And so words have that power. If we think of the creation account, God created all that we experience and all that we see, and even man in and of himself, God created by his words, which is powerful. There's so much power within the words. So we have power and authority with our words, and so we have to use them in the right manner. There might be times that you remember that there were constructive things that you've said to others. There might be times you remember those constructive things people said to you, but there might be times where people cause damage in your life too, or you've caused damage to someone else because of your words. And if we're honest tonight, we can say we've all been in that scenario. We've been on either side of that coin at one point or another. Have you ever misinterpreted something someone said to you? If you say no, you're probably lying to me.
And primarily from my red folks, because y'all are mean.
Hey, don't give away too much. Don't give away too much, okay?
It's easy. You're just straightforward.
She's giving you all the temperaments here. Or have you ever said something that's been misinterpreted by someone else around you? I remember a previous job I had. I was one of my tasks was the responsibility of making sure that we were well stocked with all the needed materials and all the stuff that we had. I would place orders and this and that. And one of the things that I requested from the people I worked with was, give me 2 days lead time for any big project you have. I'll get all the materials in place. I'll make sure we're ready to go, that you can run with whatever you need. So if you're doing a big print job, I'll make sure the cases of paper are there. We've got enough toner on hand. We're good to go. It'll be smooth sailing. So when you're ready to hit go, it's ready to run. Well, I got a comment back. I think it was on it might have been like a review, annual review or something. It was like, the comment was 2 days aren't enough or something. It was just a real short blurb like that. So I'm like, what do you mean you should know like a week out like what's going on? What do you mean 2 days is enough? And the comment that I got, I was like, how can you like step on my toes or push back on that? I think that's being more than cordial. It's kind of like not the 12th hour, but at least enough lead time to let you know. And so I was my feathers got ruffled a little bit. I'm like, I don't understand where this person's coming from.
Matt, creativity is spontaneous. It's not planned out, right? Right? Would you agree? No? Okay. This is my task-loving husband.
But there's a process to things.
Oh, you think there is?
So turns out, long story short, like with that comment, it was I think the meaning behind it was like, well, sometimes there's something that pops up last minute that we're not sure of, and so just and I always kept enough stuff on hand at all times, but not for like these huge projects. So anyway, it was one of those things of like a misunderstanding of the comment that came back to me, just because it was so short. And there wasn't a lot of context to what was said, and so I was all like, and it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks before that comment got addressed, and it got made clear to me what was actually being said for real. So it was one of those things that really affected me, and like in the back of my head throughout those couple weeks while I'm working, I'm like, come on, why can't these people get their act together? You know, it's not that hard. Just let me know.
People just can't, Matt. People like me just can't pull it together.
So we must. You've come so far.
I have.
I'm still working on you.
Through the grace of God and you.
The grace of God. Amen. So we must be people who can clearly communicate with those around us, and this material will greatly help us do that. So if you have coworkers that you work together on projects with, if you lead teams, if you lead a crew, if you're trying to lead your family, parent your children, this curriculum, this material will be worth its weight in gold to you. So we ask you to take it serious. We provided you the resource to do that. I want to let you know, too, about the workbook. The workbook is amazing.
Yes.
Mine has real life scribbled real big on the top of it because it's a church copy, but you have your own that you get to keep and color in and draw in and doodle.
We're not going to cover nearly every point, but there might be different phases in your life where you're like, I got to go through that chapter. I'm getting ready to transition, or I got to have a big conversation with my mom, or like, what color is my mom? I got to have good talking points with her. It's just going to be invaluable, kind of a resource point to look back to.
When we ended our life group, we came to the summary of, all right, this book, we need to tear every page out, and we need to plaster it on the wall so we can walk over there and see like every piece of information when we're done, because we know we're going to need it down the road at some point. And so we've used this information for conversations with our kids, with others that we come in contact with, and it's been super helpful to get through and to better relate our words to people and to better understand where they're coming from. So I hope it'll do the same for you. So the book, you have the book there. Along with the book are a lot of free resources. There is an app that will help you. All the videos are available right there on the app. You can also go to the website. Is called isaidyouheard.study. If you want to bookmark that, that would be great. All the videos are listed out right there, so your computer screen or your tablet screen is a little bit bigger than your phone screen, so that might be a good resource to utilize right there. All this information, I believe, is in the first couple pages of the book as well. So they just want to really make sure that you're equipped with that. And what we want you to do is we're going to do the first session together and the assessment tonight together so that you can learn your temperament, how you're wired, and then you can start to hear what it's about. And so we're going to cover some more of that information after the video. But I want to challenge you between now and May 5th to do your best to go through the remaining 5 sessions of this material. So whether you want to get together in like a small group setting, maybe team up with a couple other people, or if you're able to, as a married couple, work through it. I think the longest video session is about like 30, 35 minutes or so. Most of them are in like the 15-minute range or so. But there's a little bit of homework that goes along with each little section, and I know that's working through it pretty quick for those sessions. But once you get into it, it starts drawing you in. Like, you couldn't put it down when you first started with it. You're like, no, I'm watching another video. I'm going again. Like, I don't think you're supposed to do back-to-back sessions, but all right, if you're on it, you're on it. But do that. You're going to get as much out of this as you put into it, and you're going to benefit much more from it as you get more involved with it. So make sure that you're doing the homework, doing the sessions, and by May 5th, we hope to come back together, surmise a little bit, and kind of wrap it all up and see how you're doing with everything. So we're going to watch session 1. We're going to kick it off right now, and you're going to get a taste of what this is about. So take a look at the screen.
Ben, you forgot to bring the trash can up again.
Oh, sorry. I was just
I don't see why it's so hard for you to remember. You have to bring it up every single Tuesday. What, did you walk right past it? Come on, you don't even have that many. What is this?
I was just drawing something.
Well, clean it up.
I will.
No, don't just say you're gonna clean it up. Do it.
Let me just finish. Just get it. Wait, that's my color.
You can draw when you're finished with your chores. Right now it's not time to play, it's time to work. Do what I asked you to do first. Come on, listen. There's no need to cry. Right? There's just a right way to do things. And do you want to do things your way, or do you want to do things the right way?
The right way, I guess.
All right. Get this cleaned up. Now.
all done? What's wrong? Did he show you the comic book he was making you for your birthday? I think it was supposed to be a surprise.
Well, he knows he's supposed to do his chores first.
Oh, Dad, do you want to play my game?
I just have so much work to do right now, bud. I just really don't have time to play chess, okay?
It will only take 5 minutes. Come on.
I know chess. A good game can go on for hours.
No, it's not chess. I completely made up my own rules. Come on.
Why would you want to make up your own rules? I mean, chess is a great game. Look, the instructions are right here. Just look at that. Get you there.
No, but Dad, I made up the entire game from scratch. Just let me show you how to play, okay?
Look, chess has been around for 1,000 years, okay? Now there's a strategy and order. Changing the rules defeats the whole purpose of the game. Look, I'll show you how to play really quickly, but then I have to work, okay? All right, first of all, you'll need
Wait,
these.
what are you doing with those? No, don't throw them away.
It's just a bunch of paper, bud. You need to learn how to play the real game.
Oh, and those? Are you kidding me?
Let's see, these aren't set up right.
And I worked on those. And that was so hard.
Look, this is a rook, okay? It moves forward or backward, never diagonal. Are you listening?
This isn't. This isn't very fun.
Well, we haven't even started yet.
I know, it's just that regular chess, it's so boring, and I liked my way better, okay?
Well, you can't just make up your own rules. I mean, there's just a right way to do things in a right order. Now, do you want to do things your way or the right way?
The right way, I guess. You know, my way seemed pretty right to me.
All right, now this is called a knight. Now, with the,
Grab your stuff. We don't want to be late.
what, you're leaving already?
Yeah, I've got to do summer camp. We've got an hour's drive ahead of us.
How many times did you get to play his game? Isn't it so much fun? He's been working all day on it. Okay, say goodbye.
Bye, bud.
Wow, what a powerful story. Have you ever been hurt by words? Maybe the better question is, has anyone gone through life without being hurt by words? Any hands? Bueller? The reality is, no matter what our story is, no matter where we're from or how old we are, we have all been affected by people's words. I have countless memories of this, as you probably do as well. When I was in college, I was trying out for the football team. As we finished an early morning workout, a couple coaches were handing out recovery drinks to the players. And this one coach looks at me as I walk by and he kind of thumbs his nose at me and won't give me a drink. The other coach saw him do this and said, "Come on, man, give the guy a drink." And this coach says, "No, I'm not gonna waste a drink on some walk-on who's gonna quit in 3 days." Ouch, right? And on top of that, I'm surrounded by my teammates, which only added to the embarrassment and the hurt. And I have many other stories like that. And so do you. And the reason for this is that words are powerful. They can hurt us. We've all been hurt by words spoken to us, words spoken about us, and words spoken over us. Words don't just hurt though, they can also help. Words can be used for good. We can encourage, we can motivate, and we can validate others with what we say. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul talks about the power of words in his letter to the Ephesians. He commands them to let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Don't use words that are unhealthy or unhelpful to the people and to the world around you. He continues and says that we should only speak what is helpful in building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So speak what is helpful and avoid words that are hurtful. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? If only it were that easy. You see, we've all experienced that communication is complicated. You can say the right thing, but in the wrong way. You can say one thing and they hear another. And you can hurt someone by saying nothing at all. You probably have examples of this. You say things like, I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, it just came out that way. Or, I didn't think I was yelling, I didn't think I raised my voice. Or, I didn't even say that, it's just what he heard. And this is where the rubber meets the road with Paul's command in Ephesians. If we're going to avoid what is unwholesome to others and speak words that build them up according to their needs, we must have a better understanding of what it is they need. And we have to communicate in a way that they understand, not just the way we naturally communicate. Several years ago, I came across a framework through which to view all communication, and it has greatly changed the way I communicate personally, at home, and in relationships, and through my interactions professionally. It's called your temperament, your natural wiring. It influences what you say, how you say it, and what you hear when other people say something to you. Learning this framework puts practical legs on Paul's advice. And over the next few weeks, some friends who, like me, are big fans of the temperaments framework are going to help us unpack Ephesians 4:29. And you'll get to hear from Kathleen Edelman, who actually taught this to me. She's an expert in the field and has been coaching people through this for 25 years. And she's going to take us along as she gives 4 people a crash course in their temperaments.
People speaking unkindly to each other has always broken my heart. I can remember examples as far back as when I was 8 years old. Because of this, Ephesians 4:29 has always been very important to me. I heard a talk about 30 years ago by a woman named Florence Littauer that turned Ephesians 4:29 into my mission statement. The talk was about temperaments, and as soon as I heard her explain it, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life learning and teaching everything connected with the temperaments and communication. And that's what I've done. I think understanding our wiring is our only hope for doing what God calls us to do in Ephesians 4:29, which is building others up according to their needs and benefiting all who listen. The temperament framework is not something I created, nor Florence. It dates all the way back to Hippocrates, who lived hundreds of years before Jesus walked the earth. It is the basis for work by some of the giants of modern psychology. The concept has a lot of different names. It has been mingled with medical science and personality typing. We're going to keep it simple. There are 4 temperaments. Learning which one you are will change the understanding of yourself. Learning which one others are will change all of your relationships. First, let's get clear on the difference between personality and temperament. Your personality is behavior, emotions, and feelings. It evolves over time because it is affected by birth order, religion, culture, gender, and many factors as you journey through life. What we will be learning about is temperaments, which is the why behind your personality. It is your authentic wiring from God. Like your eye color, your hair color, voice print, fingerprint, it's unchangeable. Your temperament is innate. It's like your default setting. It influences every decision you make and every word you speak. A good way to think about it is like your first language. It's what comes most naturally to you. There are 4 temperaments. Each speaks its own language. The Greek names can be a mouthful, so we've matched each one with a color. Sanguine, yellow, speaks the language of people and fun. The choleric, the red, speaks the language of power and control. The melancholic, the blue, speaks the language of order and perfection. And the phlegmatic, the green, speaks the language of calm and harmony. You naturally speak one of these. Maybe you've already guessed which one. My goal is to teach you to speak in all 4. The way that happens in my office is by talking through real-life situations, conversations, and conflicts, figuring out what you said and what they heard, and eliminating this gray area in between. We're going to recreate that scenario for you. I've invited some people to join me. Each one is a very good representation of their dominant temperament. As you hear from them, I'd be surprised if you don't find yourself nodding along with one, saying things like, "That's my daughter," or, "Ah, yes, that's my husband." In hearing these stories, I hope that you'll see how this applies to your life and to your relationships. The first step is figuring out your temperament. To do that, there's an assessment in your workbook. It'll take you about 20 minutes to complete. Answer the questions as you are, not how others see you or how you want to be seen. At the end, you'll tally up your answers to figure out your dominant temperament. Knowing this information will help you get the most out of our time together. My personal prayer and passion is that by you understanding your authentic wiring, you'll become the very best version of yourself. That you will see yourself as God created you to be, perfect. You are perfect in His eyes. Equally important, I hope that by understanding the wiring of others, you will learn to communicate more effectively. And more importantly, you'll grow in grace to love them better. In my years of teaching and coaching individuals, couples, families, and teams, I've seen the understanding of the temperaments totally change relationships. People come into my office desperate for help. Usually, they're trying to change someone else, saying things like, please tell my wife this, or if my boss only knew. Learning the temperaments will change everything. But it begins with you understanding your own temperament, understanding your wiring, your strengths, your weaknesses, and the plan God has for you. That's how you can avoid communicating by talking at each other, and instead learn the art of communication with each other by making each and every word you speak a gift to the person you're speaking with, starting with you. And that's where we'll begin next time.
That's session one. In the remaining sessions, she actually works with 4 other individuals that are brought in that represent each one of those different temperaments. And just to give you a heads up, the temperaments and the people that she bring in are extremes in their temperament, okay? So they might be like way over the top. You're like, wow, I need to go take a nap. That was a lot. That's just to better help illustrate the temperament and the style of speaking and listening that they utilize and how they are wired. So just know that right out of the gate. But for us tonight, we're going to take a couple minutes, and if you want to turn in your workbook to page 24, the temperament assessment starts on page 25 there, and we're going to show a quick, it's just a 1-minute how-to video on how to take the temperament assessment, and then we're going to set you loose here in the room to do that assessment. So you can figure out what your wiring is and what your temperament is. So that's page 25, and we've got a quick instructional video on how to do that.
Grab a pen or pencil, and let's get started taking the temperaments assessment. You'll be answering 40 multiple-choice questions, which usually takes about 20 minutes. As you choose an answer for each question, A, B, C, or D, write it in the scoring column on the right. You may get stumped on a few questions and find that you don't identify with any of the 4 choices. That's okay. Just pick the best available option. After you answered all 40 questions, turn to the scoring page. In each row, circle the letter you wrote in the scoring column. If you answered A for question 1, find and circle the letter A in the first row. Then, work down each column, counting your circles and writing the total in the box at the bottom. And that's it. You've taken and scored the assessment. The color with the highest total, yellow, red, blue, or green, is your dominant temperament.
Go ahead, have at it. We'll put 20 minutes on the clock. If we wrap up the assessment a little bit early, we'll just keep moving, okay?
I feel close to you, but I wanna be closer. Cross on my shoulder, your burden is like mine's heavy though. Can you please hold it? I'm a child of God, I give it all.
Pastor Jim broke the test. He broke the assessment. Does anyone need another minute or two to kind of tally up your stuff? Good. Good. Was anyone surprised by your results? You're just like, oh my goodness. Okay. Was anyone scared by your results because you're like, how does this book know who I am? Anyone just surprised in general? You're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, it just kind of wires you in, pulls you in, and figures out how you're wired. It's pretty intense. It's pretty cool. So to help us kind of navigate now, first and foremost, let's see who is what, just by a quick show of hands. Yellows. Yellows. We got a couple yellows here. How about some greens? A few greens in here. Some reds. These are our gunners. Pastor Jim's yellow and red. How about blues? Couple blues here. I'm a blue as well. So no. Lydia's a green. Yep.
No,
blue.
you are not.
Yep. How we're wired. So just to help
wait,
us.
Who's halvesies? Like I am like
green
yellow.
Green yellow.
Green yellows in the house,
okay.
or
yellow,
red
red.
yellow red. Equal each.
Yellow red
That
blue. You got like a
anomaly.
three-way tie going there.
Really?
Pretty
what
close.
about blue green? Anyone blue green? Michelle. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? What other combo is there? Yellow blue.
Yellow green.
Yellow green or
green.
yellow blue? Yellow green.
Okay.
Yep. Red blue. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Interesting stuff.
You guys get stuff done. You do.
Yeah, you're making it happen. Making
Isn't
it happen.
it interesting?
So we're gonna make sense of some of this stuff. You're like, all right, I know what color I am, kind of, or I'm orange, or you're a mix of the two colors there, like Pastor Jim. But we're going to make some sense of this. So what does it mean? So the results, we're going to look at page 36 of your book. We've got some slides that are going to help us out understanding your temperament, and that's the why behind who you are. So understanding it's the why behind your personality, how you're wired, how you speak things, how you receive things. And so first and foremost, the sanguines are yellows. Our yellows, they speak the language of people and fun. And so your strengths are creative, you're inspiring, and you're encouraging. And so a yellow, you're not so much concerned about the task at hand, but you're more concerned about who's coming with me or who's going to be there and who do I get to hang out with. Some of your weaknesses, you may forget names. You may forget commitment all the time. You may forget commitments on the onset. You might be like, I will be there. And then like the day shows up and you're nowhere to be seen.
But the Blues know you're not coming
yeah,
anyway.
The Blues are like,
they're
you
like,
won't be there.
Don't
like,
include them in the RSVP.
Yeah,
let's be
like
honest.
they don't make the count.
No.
So you might have scattered commit. You might forget commitment. You might be scatterbrained. You might be kind of all over the map. You got so much going on. Your head's just like swiveling everywhere.
Third page of your book, second page of your book. You were the girl leaping off of this pier.
Yeah, you're the party animal. You're like,
you're the party.
Woo!
Right.
So you're the first to make the big jump. The next color is the choleric, the red. So all of our reds, they speak the language of power and control. Your strengths, you are motivated, you are strong, you are a great delegator, you are a dynamic leader, and you're quick in emergencies. Reds, you are the gunners, okay? So if like there's someone that you know or you work with or you're in family with that you know they just grab the bull by the horns, you're like, we're seeing this thing through. We're going to make it. You work with someone like that, you're like, oh my goodness, that's way too much for me.
We are partnered up. It's me with a gunner
so
for years. Funny. And, at first, as someone who's not wired that way, you're like, I'm not successful. Oh my gosh, I can't even get half the things she gets done at the same time. But I'm people-oriented versus someone who is like a task driver. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes the people get left behind a little bit, if you know what I mean. So just different approach.
However, if you are in the ER and you're crashing, you want a red, like coming at you.
To save your life.
Like,
you don't want a green being
do
like,
this!
Well,
boom, boom, boom!
Yeah.
Good, they're alive, I'm out!
Right.
Done! That's the gunner, that's the red, all right?
Yes.
Some of those weaknesses, though, they can be bossy. Right. All right, so they might come across bossy, intolerant, impatient. They may speak with a tone at times or often. So just be aware of that.
Be aware of that.
Be aware. You've been warned.
Spouses of Reds, be aware of that.
Yeah.
As if you don't already know.
Right? Or you're just Italian, right? Is that how that works?
You're just Italian.
You got it, brother.
You don't even have to take the
assessment. And you're a red. How about that? See, it works. It's that marinara.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yep. The next one, temperament. The phlegmatics or the greens. Babe, that's you?
Phlegms.
The phlegms. The phlegmatics, flags. They speak the language of calm and harmony, which we don't have a lot of in our home because we have little men running the show at times. So the strengths of a green. You are a kind, innate person, great at listening and mediating. Yeah, so you're the peacemaker. You're the one that's like, all right, let's all just take a deep breath and let's diffuse the situation.
Not easily annoyed, right? Like, if you are losing your marbles, the world is ending.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it takes a lot to set this person off.
Right?
Now, some weaknesses, you avoid conflict, you don't like confrontation, and you sometimes lack a sense of urgency. So if you're a red partnered with a green, you might be losing your mind because you're like, let's get going, get the show on the road. Today, Junior, you know, one of those deals. So it can be one of those weak areas. The last, and I would argue the best color and temperament, is the melancholics.
Really?
The blues. So any blues here with me? They speak the language of perfection and order.
Yes,
And
yes, they do.
they do, and often.
I know.
I had 0 yellows, okay?
He's so proud of the fact he had 0 yellows.
I kind of am proud of that.
I had 0 blue.
I'm working on her.
Yeah.
I was 22 blue, 14 red, 4 green, and 0 yellow. So that's my spread there.
How do you remember that?
I remember.
That's amazing.
Perfection and
Okay,
order.
okay.
You know. So some strengths: analytical. See.
Yes.
You're an
No,
analytical
you are.
person,
Definitely.
logical.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
might surprise you: creative,
Yes.
musical, and artistic. And so there's kind of some both sides of the coin there
Think
going
about
on.
like a dark artist, you know, like the guy who just wants to be in his room, like creating music and never comes out of, you know, to the light of day. I mean, that can be a very blue person from a temperament perspective, and they have like all this potential to create, but they're not really big necessarily on connecting, you know, because they're still task oriented and an introvert. You know, as far as like everything gets run through a filter, they're not the blurter outers. They're the ones who are like very deep and very thoughtful. So.
And with our blues, some weaknesses to be cautioned on are they can remember the negatives. They can be a hypochondriac. They can struggle with judgment and criticism. So blues kind of more so internalize everything and process everything. Like, what do they mean by that statement? What is that, you know? So all that stuff keeps going on in our minds. So how does this equate to like living it out every day? So some are wired to be introverts, as Lydia was just kind of talking about, and some are wired to be extroverts. And so there's a vast contradiction there between the two. And it might not be what you think. You might think introvert, that's a person that doesn't want to hang out with people. You might think extrovert, that's a person that is always out doing something. But that's not necessarily what it means here by those terms. And so on page 37 there, we see that the blues and the greens, you are innately introverts, and reds and yellows, you are the extroverts. And so here's what that means. An introvert, they direct their thoughts and their feelings inward. So the stuff that you're thinking, the stuff that you're feeling, it's not just out there. Like, you're not the one driving the social media feed. You're not the one updating your status every 2 minutes. You're the one that's like sitting there and processing it and going over and over in your head. And in fact, if you're even considering like posting something about it, you probably like edit it 3 or 4 times before you like set it and send it to
And then you don't
virtual
post it.
And then you delete it and then you're done and you turn your phone off. You know, so you internalize it. The introverts, you process your thoughts and feelings before you speak them. So it's not just, bleh, you know, everything's coming out unfiltered. It's processed. It's thought of. It's very refined in what you're saying normally. For our extroverts, our reds and our yellows, you are an extrovert. You direct your thoughts and feelings outward. And this means that you process your thoughts and feelings by speaking. And so as the introverts, they're thinking about it and they're processing it. And it's all kind of, you know, the stuff that has to fall is just kind of dropping when the things that need to remain are still up there, and that's what you're going to say. Now, our reds and yellows, the extroverts, you're processing as you're saying. So these people might be like, well, let's throw it on the wall and let's see what sticks. And you say that or you operate that way because that's how you're wired. That's how your temperament allows you to process. And so as
you have to say it to think about it.
Right. It's got to be
know?
it's got to be a tangible thing that you're like getting out there. It's almost like it doesn't exist until you say it. And then you're like, okay, now what of that works? What of that do we do? What don't we do? And it's got to all get out there. And so for an introvert, that can be very overwhelming at times. It could be a lot to take in because you're thinking, if everything's getting said, how are we going to do all this stuff? Because the way a blue and a green are wired, they wouldn't say it unless if they're going to do it, or at least giving it a strong consideration of doing. And so there's a big difference there of understanding what's being said and what's being received and how it needs to play out.
There are many meetings at work where I'm like, did I actually have to be here? Or could I have been doing things that matter? Like, you guys can get together and talk about it, and then when we're ready to do something, how about we come out with those ideas? You know,
like just send me the memo.
It's not bad that you want to brainstorm, but like for introverts, you're like, I came too early to this meeting. Like,
I'm dying inside.
right. But let's maybe talk about the high yield points, and I can kind of chew on that, and then maybe have some action points. You know, so again, just how you're wired.
Yeah. And so understanding this can make or break your relationship with your spouse or with your children or your coworkers or your boss, with your employees, across the board. It can really impact your relationship big time. Next is the task-oriented versus the people-oriented individuals. And this is a big part of our temperament as well. And so our reds and our blues are task-oriented. You are driven by the mission at hand. And now the greens and the yellows, you are people-oriented. You're like, who's going to be there? Let's load it up. Let's have a good time. Let's get in contact with people. And so the task-oriented people are inclined toward accomplishing things. It's like the mission matters, and that's it. Like, I don't care who gets stepped on or steamrolled. We're getting this thing done. So our reds and our blues, you're task-oriented. You are wired for that. Our people-oriented, our greens and yellows, you are people inclined toward fostering relationships. You want to know who's going to be there. You want to be a part of the people. You want to bring people in around you and function in that manner. And if the task gets done, all right. If it doesn't, who was there? We had a good time, right? That's the difference there between task and people-oriented.
And I actually think, too, sometimes that can make or break you as a temperament, especially in the line of work that you're in. Because some of you are in high task-heavy professions and you excel because you're oriented that way. Not to say you don't care about people, but you know, if you are a highly people person and you've got a high task-oriented job, sometimes that's hard for you to keep up and you could drown because you love to be with people, and then you've got all this stuff piling up administratively. So it kind of helps place you in the mindset of, am I even working in my niche, like in working in my strengths, you know?
And some of this, because of your calling, because of your giftings, because of your abilities, you have to kind of adjust a little bit. Like, I'm a fairly strong blue as far as my temperament goes and the way I function, and I'm task-oriented. That's very clear on how I function at home, here at work, and just really looking at the task. But ministry is about people. And so my calling from God is to invest in people, to work with people. And so I got to find a way to work in that. And not that it's not one of those things I dread or anything like that, but just understanding that I can't make the task more important than a person. And so some of that's a little bit of retraining and retooling in my mind and in my day and in my focus of what I'm doing. So in my mind, I have to get the tasks out of the way and make sure that I appropriate the right time for people so that it works the way it's supposed to, and that I'm able to fulfill the call of God on my life and do what He's told me to do and instructed me to do. And so
it doesn't mean that you're stuck in that temperament as far as, you know, stretching yourself, right? So even though you're more inclined to make lists, you still make time to text people, connect with people, meet with people, right? And even though I'm inclined to be very much a people person, at the end of the day, I got to sign my notes or money doesn't get made, right? Like, you have to do what you have to do. So it doesn't mean that you're stuck in that and that you are, you can still grow, within that temperament.
Yeah, has this been helpful so far to anyone? Makes a lot of sense. It kind of like opens your eyes. You're like, man, that's huge. This is good stuff. Helps you understand yourself better. Helps you understand those around you better. You might be taking this book home. Your spouse isn't here tonight. You'd be like, you're doing this before you go to bed. It's going to be a huge help for them, for you, and just your walk of life. And so I really want to challenge you to utilize this material, utilize this information. See your way through the next few sessions or so. There's 5 more, as I mentioned. If you're one of our leaders that aren't able to be here, you're watching virtual, stop by the church, email me, call the church. We'll get you a book. You can swing by and pick up your book and your resource here at the office throughout the week. And we want to make sure that you're empowered with this material and this information so it helps impact your life as well. I want to encourage you to do the next 5 sessions. Whether you want to get together in a small group or not, if you're able to or not, make sure you're working through this. Watch the videos. The assignments are short, but they're great. They're meaningful. They will change your life. They put application to what we're talking about and what they discuss in the videos. And so make sure you utilize that. Get the app. Bookmark the webpage there because it is a great resource to have. I have it up on my desktop laptop in my office there. It's sitting there lined up, ready to go. And so I've been kind of working over it the past couple weeks. But it's a great resource to have. The more dedicated you are to this material, the better results you'll see in the relationships in your life. And so you won't be saddened by the time that you spent and put into this. It's an investment in your life and in the lives that mean a lot to you, the lives that matter to you. And so the goal is to work through these sessions between now and May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, all right? So maybe we'll like celebrate with tacos or something for all you yellows and greens that want to party and have fun with people. Okay, so this stuff is great. Any final thoughts that you might have? Oh, what page is this on?
That's on 38.
38.
I was
So,
just going to say that.
Yeah, if you're kind of split between a couple different colors or you're really close or tied, page 38 helps you kind of decipher between if you're like right on the border of two different colors. So utilize that resource and allow that to help you maybe navigate one side to the other. Rare, do you have like a big three-way tie kind of thing or like diagonal in colors on those the temperament colors there? They do happen at times, but usually it's above or below or beside the color of your dominance. So, but this will just help you kind of navigate any of those questions that you have as well.
And again, this is all stemming from Ephesians 4:29 to be using our language in a way that is what is beneficial to others. And the bigger thing that I kind of pulled from that again as she was speaking, because it's like, different things pop out different times, is that just because I'm green and I don't enjoy conflict doesn't mean that I'm not expected to speak the truth when it is in my hands to do so. It doesn't mean that I can't make the hard phone call. I can't tell someone face-to-face the absolute truth, because that is what brings freedom to people as well. It's not just the Reds that need to be calling it at like it is. And be like, well, she's a Red, so, what a jerk. It's like don't play the bad name of the people who actually are super brave, who say the truth. As a yellow, as a green, as a blue, we still need to be truth tellers. It's not just the Reds pulling the bad guy card, whatever.
Well, let me pray for us real quick, and then Pastor Jim's going to share one last thought, okay? God, I thank you so much that we can be guided by your word and that there are resources put to that and that really help define who we are and give clarity to who you made us to be and how you wired us. And Lord, I pray that you would allow us to take the information that we've learned and build upon that with the information yet to come. And God, let us really function and excel and exceed, God, in the ways that you have made us and wired us to live. So Lord, I pray that you would help us. Give us an open mind, God, to understanding these tools and resources. And I pray that they would impact our relationships, impact our workplace and our lives and our families, Lord, and the people around us. I pray that we would leave a great mark and that we would speak words of life, that we would build people up, and that we would be able to hear and speak, God, and the other terms and temperaments, God, that need to be spoken to those around us. So, Lord, help us, equip us, help us to lead better, God, by the empowerment of this resource and by your word. Father, we thank you so much, and we are grateful for what we're going to learn and venture in together. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
So let me just finish quick. Thank you to Pastor Matt and Lydia. Great job, again, with some understanding with this. I would just say to all of us is that don't, as we look into these kind of colors or the segments or whatever, please understand that every one of them are valuable. I think we have this sense like, oh my gosh, well, Pastor Jim's a Red, and I'm a leader, I need to be a Red. And the fact is that we need everybody. And if you were all me, it'd be a miserable church, right, to go to, depending, right, whatever. If we're a Red, yeah, or if you're all Matt, yeah, like nobody would want to go to that church. Yeah. In fact, we often joke over the years between Matt and I, in leading a lot of that we are very different in that way. I think we're alike in a lot of ways, but kind of down that dividing line, we are very different, and yet that's what makes so much work. I mean, the good things work at Real Life is because the things that I handle are that side of it, and the things that he handles, handles those details and whatever. And so, and I've said to all the staff that if we would hire people to come in, is I don't want people just like me, because why do I need them? I'm here. Right? So we are looking for differences, and I think sometimes when we do this, we have a tendency to then compare ourselves with, or we want to rank ourselves with other people, and don't do that. Just be the best you, right? And I think that as you look on both sides of those, we want to help explore your strengths. You have to be very diligent about your weaknesses as well. That's the work that you have to do. We're going to encourage your strengths. You have to be really honest about your weaknesses, right? If you're bossy, like, so you're a red, but you're bossy, you know, that in this application, right, that might not be the best fit in church, right? We know that a lot of that fits in there, but you know, how it meets with compassion and those kind of things. So there is so much in these, and yet I want to stress to you how valuable it will be for us. As I said, that leaning on your leadership and the time that you are taking to grow in your leadership, I applaud. Again, I value these sessions because, again, it's going to make us all work together better. And as we go into the good things, we're going to strive better. When we face conflict, we're going to understand each other better as well, right? So that we can do that face to face and understand the reasons behind it. So for those of you that, if you're still with us online as well, like Pastor Matt said, we need you to get a book. Jocelyn, you're going to make some emails tomorrow. Like people that weren't here, you are going to get these books. You are going to do this. Let me encourage you. So we're going to be back here on Wednesday, right? So we're going to talk. We're going to maybe dip into this a bit, but there's some other leadership principles we're going to talk about, and then we're going to kind of dedicate some time on that following Wednesday just to clear up, and you'll have a chance to work through this material. If your wife or husband aren't here tonight, or take a book home to them and do this with them. We've got tons of books out there. So as much as it can work in your home, because you're an asset of the church, go ahead and do that for your home, for your marriage, but you're going to be serving together, chances are, or maybe leading together. So go ahead and take a book, all right, and let them, so that way you guys will have something to talk about as well over the coming week. So, all right, well, that's the promise. We wanted to keep our time set for tonight. So so get into this, all right, and then bring your notebooks. I'll be doing more teaching on Wednesday, so bring your books because you'll have some handouts, and we're going to talk about some real practical applications to our leadership. So we've talked a big concept about transcendent leadership and kind of the big picture. The nitty-gritty, okay, will start this coming Wednesday, so things that you will rise to. So, all right? All right, hey, give these guys a hand one more time. Thank you, guys. Awesome, awesome job. All right, everybody, good night. For those of you viewing with us, thank you for hanging in with us. Have a great night. See you hopefully on Wednesday, that you can make it with us at 6:30 on Wednesday. 6:30 on Wednesday night, okay? All right, everybody, have a great night.